All right. Well, let's get this over with. This is a video that I definitely am not enjoying making. In fact, this is something that was personally very distressing. And I think that once other folks know what I am going to communicate, that a lot of folks are going to be concerned with essentially what we discovered. So, what I believe I have discovered is a level of censorship that is taking place in public universities in the United States through their official, at least in our case, our Microsoft Outlook email communication system. So that is the system that the University of New Mexico utilizes to allow us to transmit communications and to send documents and so forth. Obviously, many folks are using Outlook, right? But, it just happened to be the case that I was actually writing my official personal religious exemption statement so that I could protect myself, my body, my mind, and so forth from what I believe are extremely dangerous medical operations that people are calling vaccines. And in writing this personal statement, I actually sent it to a colleague at the university for them to review before I actually submitted it. And what we discovered was that my actual personal religious exemption statement that I wrote up was not able to be transmitted on the communication system, on the email system. In fact, it was essentially, shadow banned. There was no notification. There's no indication that a document was improper or perhaps there was improper contents. I would simply send the email and the recipient would not receive it, even though it looks like a recipient would receive it. There was no anomalies, at least that were communicated to me on the email. So I'm just going to simply demonstrate that to you. And, here's an example of the incident report that I actually submitted to our tech folks at the university, and it basically explains the situation. But let me go ahead and just demonstrate that for you right now. So what we're going to do is I am going to go into my documents, and these are the relevant documents that I needed for my religious exemption uh, request, and I put that word request in quotes. But here's what we're going to do. So I'm just going to go to our email system here. What do we got? All right, so here we go. We got a couple personal emails, nothing too sensitive. In fact, I don't see any student names here, so we should be good. And what I'm simply going to do is I'm going to send a new message. I'll send it to myself at the university, and we'll just leave it at that. So we'll call this experiment. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach my actual religious exemption statement here. And what do we have? I think it is this one. It's all right. So we've got it attached, and I'm just going to try to send it to myself via the university system, and we'll see what happens. Now, we're going to just wait for that email to come through. I have a feeling it's not going to come through. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to send another document, again, to myself. And experiment B. We'll do a formal experiment, part A and part B. All right, so for part B, I'm just going to send something that is more benign. It is just my CV. And we'll see what happens when I send that to myself. All right, well, what is going on? Hey, I got something, but unfortunately, it wasn't the actual exemption statement that I wanted to send. It was my CV, which is great. It's a good CV. I've worked really hard over the years, but I think that you could see the problem. So I got no notification or indication that my other document that for whatever reason is not able to be transmitted in the system had some kind of fault with it. So no indication that there was a problem with the document itself. And in fact, I'll go ahead and do this one more time. And instead of a Word document, I'll send the PDF of the same experiment C. Yes, we're doing this very formally. And again, in this case, I'm going to send a PDF instead of a Word document. I think that we know who owns both, you know, the whole Microsoft enterprise, but we'll just try to send this one, see what happens. Send, and once again, whatever is in my personal religious exemption statement that I actually wrote up over a couple days, purely from the heart, purely from the mind, and completely original, is of danger to certain folks, and I don't know who these folks are. So I just want to demonstrate really quickly how I could easily send this document via another system. So for example, just via my Yahoo, and I'll go ahead and do that for you really quickly. There we go. I'm going to Yahoo. In fact, I will compose a message, and in this case I will send it to myself. Alrighty, don't want to be disclosing this email address, but so be it. I might have to take one for the team. And we'll call this experiment B, because this was the sensitive document. B and C, actually. We'll put them both in there just to demonstrate the effect. All right, so we're going to go into these documents, and I'll just attach both the Word and the PDF of my religious exemption statement. And we will let those load up. And again, I'm sending it to myself. In fact, I will also send it to my work email, and we'll see where it actually arrives. So I'm going to hit the send button. We're going to go back into our inbox and see if anything happens through Yahoo. And again, that's really the interesting thing, is that, you know, this is able to be sent through Yahoo, but not through our official public university's email system. And I don't know why that is. Now we're going to wait and see if this actually comes through. Now we're going to check over here with our UNM email address. As you can see, nothing has come through here. It was, yeah, just my CV. Just my CV. So if we go back to Yahoo, we will see that I actually did successfully send my religious exemption statement in both forms. So again, what we have, and I will just go ahead and show that. So again, my religious exemption statement did come through Yahoo. I send it to myself here, and it will not be sent, and it will not include any notification as to why it is not being sent via UNM. Now, this is interesting because I actually got a little pushback on my statement thus far, and the intake portal system that appears to be controlled by the Office of Equal Opportunities at the university apparently didn't even receive my actual personal religious exemption statement. So the actual intake portal, where all the students and all the staff are supposed to submit their actual documents, their confidential documents, either medical or the religious statements or whatever supporting documents that are needed, was not able to receive my actual document. Okay. So it appears as though the university is using a system that they're not in control of, that is, that information that they are requesting from their staff is not even able to be viewed by them themselves, meaning that there appears to be a third party that is actually regulating which communications are actually sent, which would assume that a third party is actually reading and going through confidential information. I don't know why the university would allow that. Now, we have some fundamental questions. So one of them is, who is actually blocking the communications from taking place? Is it somebody at the university? Is it a governmental agency? Is it, dare I ask, a nation state? perhaps domestic, maybe even foreign. Why are they blocking this information? Just as importantly, a question could be asked of why they are hiding their blocking of this information. And of course, one of the major questions is what is in the contents of my actual personal religious exemption statement that somebody is so scared of? Well, I'm actually going to post a statement below this video, and I don't know how UNM or how UNM or YouTube will treat it, but I just want to, give you a glimpse of what is in this statement. And I might go over it in further detail in a different video, but I just wanted to get this out there so that as many people in the country know that there is actually a severe case of censorship that is taking place in the United States, even among tenured research scientists, in ways that there are systems that are not allowing scientists to be able to communicate about scientific information, okay, or medical information. So I don't know exactly what in my statement is being blocked. I believe it's a certain URL, and I loaded this thing full of references supporting my views, my views of my right to look after my health, my love of God. I think God has given us the gift of what I call common sense, and I explain why there seems to be a lot of hypocrisies and discrepancies and abnormalities regarding the explanation of the pandemic